think anybody who starts so young in this business, a lot of it really can screw you up.
I would just become such a recluse. I have that tendency. My dad...
Barrymore was already in rehab at 12.
When I was born, it was kind of already decided what I was expected to be.
For years, children have been taken advantage of by nefarious networks and pestilent parents. But has the internet put a complete stop to that? Or has it just focused these greedy guardians on a new money-making medium? Today, half of the most famous people in the world were child stars 15 or 20 years ago. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that they were just the only people on TV. The same actors were cast over and over again in the biggest roles because networks and management teams planned out their careers to a T. And because these networks were in control of most of the content in front of children these days, i.e. Disney, they were able to pick which kids were gonna be the stars, which kids were gonna be in the most shows, simultaneously giving these people a celebrity status and making a ton of money. Think Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, the Jonas Brothers, Britney Spears, Macaulay Culkin, Zendaya, Bella Thorne. They were all hallmarks of a generation. But despite what you may think, the fame they garnered wasn't exactly a blessing. That level of power and prestige changes people, and it often thrusts them toward a life teeming with drug abuse and behavioral issues that quickly derails their once illustrious career. But things are a little bit different today. The competition to get on people's screens is higher than it has ever been, but the path to stardom no longer lies solely with major TV and film networks. Rather, I think the biggest paths to stardom today lie on the platforms that children are using the most, YouTube and TikTok. This is where child stars could possibly be made today. They can come up with some funny skit or unique way to introduce a story or be good at dancing. And with the attention they can gain on these platforms, they can get more and more eyes on their work than anyone in a Nickelodeon or Disney TV show could have ever dreamed of. Think of the kind of videos that Emma Chamberlain used to make, those vlogs where she would show off her normal day-to-day routine and she would be funny and everything, but a lot of people made those types of videos, not just Emma Chamberlain. And sure, some of them may have been able to develop into a little bit of a consistently growing content creator, but no one is known the way Emma Chamberlain is known, or really no one else is a star except for Emma Chamberlain. Emma was really the only person out of thousands of people that made the exact same kind of content that was actually able to become a star and somewhat of a child star, even though she became famous at like 17. But there was one point for Disney where they felt like they were just printing out pop stars every single month for like 2 years. But today it's barely feasible to believe that you can get to the same heights that Emma Chamberlain was able to reach. And one of the biggest parts of that is the idolization of maturity on social media. Young people inherently look up to people older than them. Back in the day of Disney and Nickelodeon TV shows, that wasn't as big of a deal because we were shown content that was somewhat resembling a childhood reasonably similar to that of our own. But today, the kids on TikTok not only have access to also other kids making TikToks, they have access to more or less every other demographic of human being that exists. So it's up to them who they want a star to be or who they want to follow, and it's probably not going to be someone that looks younger than them. For example, imagine you have a 13-year-old that makes Minecraft videos. Definitely not something I would ever do. The people that are going to become significant viewers of their work are probably only going to be 13 or younger, and if you had an 11-year-old, they would only be watched by 11-year-olds or younger, etc. With kids drawn to older people, it'll create a bit of a natural barrier to modern child stardom because there will just be less people willing to become major viewers of their work. But furthermore, even if a kid is somehow able to slip through the cracks, it's very difficult for them to actually maintain and or transition their fame into a different medium. You could see this pretty clearly with Charli D'Amelio. After going insanely viral in 2020, she brought in a media team that then tried to branch her out into different fields. She did tons of brand deals for different things, and though you didn't see her doing any acting or anything like that, you saw Dixie and Dixie's music. That's just a perfect blueprint of exactly what Disney did with Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez and all of these actors back in the day. It's the exact same thing, but it wasn't Disney doing it. And you can almost certainly say that Dixie probably wouldn't have reached the heights she did at least as quickly if it weren't for her massive fan base from before she had created the music at all. But we haven't seen any successful transition from Charli yet, and I believe that has to do with the fragility of internet fame. The publicity created on the internet today leaves a much smaller impression on the public than did the publicity created on TV 25 years ago. And there are even levels to it today. TikTok TikTokers have a harder time being impactful and memorable than do successful Instagram stars, who then have a more difficult time being memorable than do YouTubers. And it all has to do with on-screen FaceTime. The more memorable you can be to your viewers will lead to a longer amount of time in the public view. It's the reason that Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton are still so famous today, yet we've already forgotten about some of the biggest YouTubers that existed at the start of the platform. There are just so many people being seen being shoved in front of somebody's face on a daily basis that one person out of those hundreds, out of those thousands, is going to be memorable. Unlikely. It's just not the same climate today as it was when the only thing on TV or the only thing that you could possibly watch in the evenings was High School Musical or Boy Meets World. However, this isn't inherently a bad thing. Today, it is easier to build a career as an influencer than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago to become an actor. However, this introduces a new problem. There may be more pseudo-child stars now and in the future. Because of how distinct the niches on the internet are, a kid that gains decent clout within their small niche could create this false fame idea in their head, effectively thinking that they're a much bigger deal than they actually are. When all the people you surround yourself with treat you like the most famous person in the world, whether you actually are or not, I can imagine these kids experiencing similar psychological fallout to what was experienced by the historical child stars, just hopefully to a lesser degree. Child actors in Hollywood are often forced into working by their parents and are commonly treated poorly and lose a significant amount of money that was probably supposed to be for them, despite there being a few laws in place. However, there is no protective legislation for child creators. So I can only assume that more and more parents are going to take advantage of their kids once they realize that they can make money off of them. Without any laws that state how long they can work or how much of their money actually goes directly to them, I'm not very optimistic about what it would be like to be a child star on the internet today. Let me know what you think. Is child stars evaporating or disappearing a good thing, or is it a bad thing? But if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and why don't you slide on over to my last video, which talked about why Ryan Gosling was the perfect Ken in the Barbie movie. But thanks for watching. Bye.